Welcome to Beyond the Blend, the podcast that goes behind the science and talks to the people at the heart of the lubricant market, telling the real story of the people who make the lubricant market move. With real insight and honest conversations, we aim to show off the people's side from across the entire lubricant supply chain. Join me, Steve Knapp, and Rob Taylor as we delve behind the scenes of the lubricant industry. Let's go. Let's go with a quick 5 from 5. Tobe, listening to your favourite album or reading your favourite book?
Favourite album.
Alone time or social time?
Alone time.
A walk in the countryside or paddleboarding on the ocean?
Paddleboarding for sure.
A West Ham win or winning a deal with Hydak?
Don't tell my boss this, but definitely all in with West Ham.
Okay, and the last one. Your career theme tune, Under Pressure or Don't Stop Believing?
Probably a remix of them both together, I think, but Don't Stop Believing.
Don't Stop Believing. Well, Tobe, that's a great insight into some of the fun we have with the quick 5 from 5. What would be the favourite album if I was to ask you on that one?
Oh, is it Dark Side of the Moon? I think.
Okay.
Probably,
Okay.
which is a bit of a surprise, but it could be anything. It's now Taylor Swift, yeah. I realise, because my daughter, when I drop her off to school, leaves it on Spotify in my car, and before I've noticed, I've driven 30 minutes with Taylor Swift blowing out. So.
Yeah. Well, when you get your Spotify Wraps, actually, it turned out, I think whatever year it was, my family had listened to Harry Styles and is it Watermelon or something? And that was my number one song, having never heard it or listened to it in my entire life. But there we go. But anyway, here we are on Beyond the Blend, and joining me today is Tobias Daley, head of the Hydak Business Innovation Group. From my understanding, Tobias started as an apprentice and now leads the global team focused on innovation, digitalization, and sustainability in fluid power. We're going to talk about how he got started, what he's learned about leadership, and where he thinks the future of the industry might be heading. Tobe, welcome to Beyond the Blend. It's great to have you here. Please take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, thanks, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I'm here by accident and probably by luck more than anything. But so as you've kindly introduced me anyway, you've said most of it. So I look after Hydak BIG, which is a really interesting concept in its own right. But I'm a mechanical engineer. I did my apprenticeship. If I go all the way back to the beginning, my family have always have been in engineering. My uncle and my stepfather actually influenced me massively because they're both engineers. One electrical engineer or PLC engineer, and my uncle was a mechanical engineer. So I always had engineering around me. I think it's in my blood. And I remember going to work with my stepfather in a power station, the old coal-fired power station, 1960s, and just completely falling in love with it. And be like, this is incredible. Feels slightly dangerous and unnerving, but at the same time, incredible. You think how much time, effort, and love has gone into building something like this, and I want to be part of it. So it's hence why I went into my apprenticeship. Really, I just looked around and just left school at 16 and straight into an apprenticeship, mechanical engineering apprenticeship, and then I did my apprenticeship in the design office and in the test room, testing hydraulic things, stripping pumps down, rebuilding them, testing new manifold blocks, always covered in oil, but just really enjoyed it in a way. But then I think after time you go through, don't you think, actually, I want to see where this stuff's coming from. Like I used to do returns, a simple thing where someone would turn a valve for being faulty, and you just never really see the industry they're in or the applications they're in. So I wanted to spread my wings a bit and get out there. And so I went and joined Steph, who was actually my mentor and as well for my apprenticeship, along with another colleague, Dave. And I went and joined Steph, and he was looking after fluid service, it was called. So it was kind of going out there and looking at how to look after lubricants in hydraulic systems, lube systems, anything like that. And so we set up this little tiny lab, and we just went around and tested oils, fault find things, and I loved it. I remember I had a laboratory van that we used to have. So we used to do patch tests in the back. Probably be banned now because of health and safety and carrying chemicals and things and not having enough ventilation, so on and so forth. But we just getting out on a Monday and kind of just do tours, take it on the ferry over to Ireland, go to power stations, people building excavators, whatever it might be, every application you can think of. And then it really kind of, you got to see everything. You got to see problems because that's kind of why you're there, is to fix something. And then see where everything that I did on my apprenticeship kind of was used. Yeah, and then I went into more service because we had to, doing all of this, everybody wanted us to do more. You know what it's like. Everyone, if you're good at doing something, then say, okay, can you do this as well? And so we set up doing the service division of our company in the UK. And then we started traveling around doing services as well. So we ended up, started renting vans to do these jobs. And then we kind of obviously brought a fleet in and grew it. And I remember we did things like on the Millennium Bridge in Newcastle, and it was just fascinating. So you stay in Newcastle for the night, fix that, and you think you're all there in your overalls, and there's loads of tourists around seeing you in this glass kind of fish bowl trying to fix oil. I'm thinking, what are we doing here? But no, I think I absolutely love that. And I ended up getting a Berlingo van. Do you remember the little Citroen? It's like an old winemaker's van, and it had a small little bulkhead in it. And I remember, I was like, it's a van, it's great. I put everything in. I used to travel around at the time we were doing a lot with the power stations and right up to Aberdeen. And also we're doing things sort of offshore. So, and one bank holiday weekend, the call came in, can you do something on a wave energy machine in the Orkney Islands? I was like, it's an emergency breakdown. So the fastest way I could get all my tools and everything there was just to drive. So I had this little Berlingo van. And if you go above 50 miles an hour, you can't hear the radio. But if you don't go above 50 miles an hour, it takes you forever to get there. So it's this balance. You're always having this play between the music or the radio and getting somewhere in time. And then obviously after that, we kind of, we said we're doing stuff on the London Underground, all kind of crazy, amazing things. Like we were looking after the escalators for the brake systems and the clutches on the escalators. And so I was working the day and then doing a night shift on the bank station. I remember crawling under the excavators and moving what I thought were cobwebs out of the way like this. And it was actually human hair. And I was like, oh my goodness, no, I just can't. And something I was really excited about suddenly turned into probably the worst nightmare for most people. But yeah, and then obviously just naturally, I think you build that experience and you meet people. You often are dealing with conflict, and because everybody's angry because nothing's working, and you kind of just develop a rapport with people, don't you? Going around, and I just knew everybody in the end, and I loved it. And then went into product management, and into sort of more sales roles and commercial roles from that, which I also enjoy for the same reasons. It's people and everything. And then we got into the business innovation group, kind of started out of all of this in this weird way, because quite often what would happen is people would say to me, oh, we have something new, can you look after it? My boss here would say, quite often Darren would say, we need to do this in the UK, it's a new business model, or it's a new thing we need to do. And it would come and land on my desk and say, okay, let's explore what we need to do. And I sat there thinking, surely can't be the only one in the world that sat there doing this job. Surely somebody else in our company with 10,000 plus people, somebody else is doing the same thing as I'm doing on their own in another country. So after years of being in this company, I've reached out to people I'd been to dinner with or drunk a beer with or something from the other countries, and so I reached out to the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, and obviously ourselves in Germany, and kind of just got a feel for who was doing it. And as it so happens, everybody was doing the same thing. And so we decided to form this kind of unofficial group outside of headquarters and see what we could do. And at the time, it's Industry 4 was a hot topic. So we're running around trying to decide, what is Industry 4 for us? What value does it bring? How is it important to us? And so we started to kind of explore that, and soon found out that we could do this better or differently, and that we, by having a bit more diversity in our thinking through having these different perspectives, was really healthy. And then we ended up doing some great projects, and suddenly, before you know it, we had to make it official and stop behaving like we're in kindergarten and like grown-ups, and do things properly, really. So, and that's where we are now. So now we have a team. We have a global team. We're mainly based in the UK and in Denmark. We split the teams up. Yeah, and then we have people from all around the world that we work with and try and use the things that we build and to their advantage, really. So, or their customers' advantage. So.
What a fantastic potted journey, and so much colour and experience there. I mean, I can't help but sort of vividly see these moments of you like underneath things and experiencing things and being fascinated by them. I mean, the tube one petrifies me anyhow, but to think what was really down there is probably one of the deepest questions we should never find the answer to, I'd imagine. But before you jumped in the van and you were driving all around the place, the background, where are the roots? Where are the roots? Are the roots down south? Are the roots? So where are they?
Yeah, so I grew up in just outside Oxford, actually, and so yeah, I grew up for some of my life on a racing stable. So my grandfather was a racehorse trainer, and then that was half our family was there, and so he moved over from Ireland and worked for a bit in racing, then set up a yard in Letcombe, which is near Lambourne, which you probably, if you're into racing, most people know. And that's my McCourt side of the family, which is my mother's side. So, and then sort of grew up quite a lot in the countryside after my grandfather passed away. And then also on my father's side, my grandfather came from East London, hence the West Ham connection that you and I have, Steve. So during the war, obviously, he was an evacuee and then moved back, but then obviously liked it so much out here that he moved back out and then obviously settled here. So I grew up around Oxford, really, radius of 50 miles, really kind of in and around that area. And I kind of stayed there. Really, family is super important to me because we grew up as a very close family. So my uncles, my aunties, the cousins, and we have my cousins, my sister's the only lady in the family at our generation. So she's outnumbered a little bit, but we're all super close, and we'd all grow up around each other's houses, around my grandmother's house and my nan's house. And yeah, and I think the same for my children. I kind of wish that they had the same connections to each other that we had together, because like now my cousins and are my best friends as well, really. So they kind of haven't really moved that far afield, and especially with work and I was traveling so much, actually being home and in a place that you know and you're familiar with is quite comforting. I don't know if you find the same with your travels, Steve, but it's nice to be in a familiar place when you are away all week. So, and I think now I'm I like to be at home, have a bit of quiet time. So.
Yeah, well, you mentioned sort of alone time, didn't you? And sort of, I guess that alone time might be driven from the fact that you were away a lot, but then you've got that juxtaposition that you've just described, where you love being around your family as well, right?
Yeah, I think I say alone time because you know what life's like when you've got children like I do. I manage the under-9s football team for my local village, and I do all sorts of things. I play tennis, I play football myself still, although I'm 40 plus now, so I'm just terrible, but it doesn't matter. And I work a lot, and so that those pressures, even if it's 30 minutes, you think just to decompress. So I sit in my armchair and I think, oh, this is nice, and then next thing, your kids want you or something, the dog's done something, or so
yeah. And is the under-9 football team because your lad plays for them, or is it,
yeah, so my boy plays. He was playing for this team, and obviously if I didn't do it, they wouldn't have been around anymore, so because they couldn't find a manager. And I have obviously experience. I've played football since I was 6 years old, but I never ever wanted to sign up to football management definitely not. In fairness, it's probably the scariest thing I've ever done, and way scarier than at work or anything like that, because you're looking after people's like children, and it's a whole different dynamic. Work's one thing, and you can stand in front of 1,000 people and do a talk, or you can coach your own team, or you can, I don't know, whatever it is, do the board meetings. It doesn't really matter. But when you're there in front of 12 children that don't listen to you, how do you get them to listen to you without being aggressive, with kindness and with purpose and all these things, and maintain your cool? And it doesn't matter what you say, they still don't listen to you. And so I think doing that actually has been the biggest challenge, and most stressful one. So, but I do it out of love still. So,
well, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because as you introduced that, you sort of talked about, or it wouldn't be there, and I think this volunteering thing is a concept in itself now, because you made me think about. I don't know how you made me think about it, but you made me think about my wife. So she volunteered for 20 odd years in the village brownies, right? So doing the brownies and all of that you described about responsibility and all the other stuff that goes on with it. The point is, had they not volunteered, it wouldn't have been there.
Yes.
And she did it for 20 odd years with a friend, and they did it. They couldn't find anybody to take it on. So ultimately now in our village, there is no brownies, there is no cubs, and they have to go to other places. The problem is, of course, that becomes less accessible, harder to do, and I think that's a big thing. So props to you for giving your time up for that. It's really important, I think.
Yeah, I think I look at everybody else and I think, there's coaches of the different age groups, and it's like it's their full-time role. They really are pros at it. And I think I bumble my way through it. And because I'm working away, I mean, you have to take it in turns to mark the pitches out. And the only time I have is on a Friday night, because I finish normally at, say, 4:30. But I've been traveling all week. My rota falls on when I've been, let's say, in Germany for the week. I land straight from the airport, straight down there, put my wellies on. And last time it was pouring down with rain. It's dark. So I'm doing this with a head torch on. What am I doing here? Is this all worth it? But then again, you see them on a Saturday morning the next day and they love it. And it's just so nice to see. And I keep talking about Barcelona of 2012 and those teams. I think, try and play like this. I send them like their parents' WhatsApp videos. Get them to watch this. This is a great tiki-taka football. And they just think, what is this old man on about now? I think, but anyway, it's.
I love it. I love it. And then you talked about a connection that we have. There are a number we've found over our a short time of knowing each other, but West Ham United definitely is one of those. And you've got your dad's side of the family to thank for that.
Yes,
Tobias, not blame for that. To thank for that legacy that we have. So if I was to think about you as a coach, are you sort of one of the sort of more expressive continental European coaches, or are you one of the more dour Sam Allardyce kind of coach? What kind of personality would you bring into coaching?
Well, you should probably ask the boys that, really, because they'll probably tell you different. But I'm probably an old school coach, but I'm trying to be more progressive. Is my way of thinking it. I'm probably a Sam Allardyce trying to be a Guardiola or a Klopp, but I'm just terrible at it. But I'm just trying my best. In fact, I can get them to pass the ball to one another a few times, I see as an achievement. But
it is, isn't it? And I think I'll have you on the touchline in a sheepskin coat and a John Motson hat. I love it.
It's when they turn up. One of the parents said to me, "I've never seen a football coach wearing boat shoes." And I was like, I definitely don't have the right footwear. I'm really normally rushing out the door, so I'm never prepared for it, really. And you see everyone else turning up in full kit with their, the zippers, the branded umbrellas and everything. It's just, it's not my style.
Well done. Well, I really appreciate you sharing, a little bit of the background of you, because on Beyond the Blend, we really like to showcase the personal stories that bring the people to life, that then show the different roles across the, this sort of space that we cohabit together, which is work. And I just want to shift a little bit as we move the conversation along. You mentioned about the beginning days and the apprenticeship. So I sort of asked myself, how did you end up at Hydac as an apprentice? Was it a planned move? I mean, you told us that you loved all the bits when you got there, but was that luck or circumstance or what got you to that point?
Yeah, I mean, you look back and you think it's such a defining moment, but I thought very little of it. And I remember I went for an interview and I thought, oh, this looks interesting. At the time that we were doing in the UK, part of Hydac was doing a lot of these subsea, like high pressure, things like high pressure filtration systems, like 1,500 bar of pressure. I remember thinking, wow, this is really interesting. I have no idea what any of this means. It's all just pipe work and stainless steel, really. So, and I was like, oh, just spoke to the team at Hydac, and then I was driving home and I got a call to say they would like to offer me the job, and I thought, well, okay, like you trust me, I'll give it a go and see where it takes me. And it was as simple as that. I just looked around. There was like in Oxfordshire, there was an Oxfordshire apprenticeship trust, and so I went through them, and they do some great work at connecting apprentices with schools and then obviously employers. Yeah, and I didn't really look back. It's just that was it. And you think, and now we are here where we are, really. But yeah.
And it is a piece to reflect upon, that the apprentice point to where you are now. And we speak to many people, and it's a pleasure to speak to them. I think so many people that achieve things in this sector didn't deliberately set out to be in this sector. It kind of captured them and fascinated them, and they stay here. And I think you're playing that back as well, right? It was a moment, but it captivated you.
Yeah, I genuinely, and I say this, we undersell this sector. We undersell industry. We undersell mechanical engineering, or lubrication. It's these words aren't something where you leave school and go, this is what I want to do with my life. And I think that's something that we do undersell, because when I was in my van and I'm traveling around the place, I loved that. And actually being on site was the most thrilling thing. I loved being in my hard hat, my overalls, not being able to hear properly what anyone's saying, having that camaraderie with other people there who are on different teams, different companies, different places they come from, different disciplines. And you're in these environments, which are like, it could be a power station, it could be an oil rig, it could be a marine vessel, any of those. All of these things define our world. Everything in our company that we produce as Hydac is powering the world. It's making things move. It's excavators. It's systems that go into them. It's not the wind turbines itself, but it's the systems behind the wind turbine. It's not the power station building, but it's the governor control system, steam valves, the lubrication systems. And you can go on. I mean, everything that this industry does defines quite a lot of what happens in the world. And when you look at a purpose to coming out of school or university and you think, okay, I want to do something that is good for humanity, or I want to do something with purpose, this industry is probably one of the best industries that you can go into if you really, really want to make a difference. And you see it, I see it everywhere I go, even still. I walk around some sites, you think, my goodness, there's so much waste sometimes. There's so much things where just little tweaks here and there that our knowledge as people and as our experience can help them, or getting industry into such an efficient program where they're saving money, they're measuring the impact of their decisions with CO2, with cost savings, and if you visualize that impact, then you soon see that it becomes a huge influence in the world, like into global emissions, into all of those things. So we just don't sell it properly. We sell oh, this product is a part of this and no one understands. It's like when I went to my apprenticeship, it was pipe work and it was stainless steel. It wasn't, this does X, Y, and Z, and this is the impact it has. We were so focused on technology itself, not the bigger picture. And I think that's something that we do better. And Casper, actually, my colleague, he sells it to the students that we have in our group. So he talks them through it. It's a great story because it basically talks the students into their night out. Our industry, it makes the cans that you have as your pre-drinks before you go to the pub. We influence the power that goes into charging your mobile phone so you can use social media. It's powering or it's cooling data centers, which is giving you the cloud devices that you use and whatever it might be. So, and at the end of the night, when you come back and you've got you're going for your takeaway, it keeps the lights on, it keeps the ovens powered. There's all those things, even the taxis, everything we do touches all of those points. And it's great because you can see them the penny dropping.
Ready to stop guessing how lubricant buyers truly decide? Well, come and see us, the Plan, Grow, Do team, at the 30th ICIS World Base Oils and Lubricant Conference in London on the 4th of February. Join our exclusive Buyer Revolution workshop or tune in to our one-off session on buyer behaviour alongside an event where you'll gain strategic clarity from over 70 experts and secure essential face-to-face time with the entire global market. Be in the room where strategy meets profitability. Search for World Base Oils and Lubricants now to secure your access.
I love that that connection back to everyday life, because we get that. We get everyday life, right? We don't get these big sustainability goals. We don't get this complex way of measuring stuff that we don't feel we can touch and feel. But what a great way to take the life of a pre-drinker before they go out and bring it to bear. And I think, if the apprenticeship period has brought that clarity about purpose and the story, I think that's brilliant, because it kind of leads me to where I just want to take the next question. We've got this moment where you're now an apprentice, but you're now very well trusted. You're very well respected. You're very well trusted. You're going to sort of be bashful at this, but you could be described as an expert now, right, in the sector. What were those moments or mentors even, that really shaped your movement from somebody that was an apprentice to somebody that was prepared to stand up and be trusted?
Well, yeah. Certainly Stefan Grieve. So he was my mentor when we first went into this, and I remember Steph telling me a story at one point, and when I started, when I moved from the kind of design office into my first kind of real job outside of my apprenticeship, and I said, "What do we do? Just wait for the phone to ring?" He's like, "No, we've got to go and make this happen," and we just did this together. I remember we spent so much time in the car, and a 3-hour journey would be consumed by a discussion about how something works, and I tell you, Steph knows everything. And still now, I'll phone him, and he's a real practical person there's no air bubbles. It's not business models and sustainability, these things which are kind of buzzwords. There's real substance to it. And so I'll go to him and say, "Okay, I've done these calculations. Do you think this is right? Can you tear it apart?" And people like Steph and these kind of influences, certainly as I was going through that kind of period, were just everything. I never thought I'd be anywhere near Steph's level, and I'm still not. I'm better maybe at some things, and he's better at others, and that's the beauty. Because I've soon realised, okay, my expertise goes to a certain level in mechanical engineering or something, but I'll never be the best at that. And then so I kind of that's when I started to try and find mentors around other things as well. Because I thought, okay, if I can find 20 Stephs, my God, I'll know who to call. And then I don't have to be an expert at everything. I can just build that network. So like John Dukowski, or Dr. John, as I call him, for oils. He's a fellow of the STLE, and he's unbelievable. And I remember I phoned him once, and you start, because I'm always nervous. I didn't want to do anything myself. I needed that backup. And I remember phoning him, saying, we need to present. And we had to present to, I think it's 50 people, chief chemists and chief engineers of a power operator. And I was just well out of my depth for anything like that. And it was for governor control systems for steam turbines and phosphate esters and the degradation mechanisms, and which are things I can talk about now. But back then, that was just alien to me. And he said, I can't make those dates, Tobe. I thought, well, we haven't got other dates. So he said, fly over here. I'll teach you everything. And I remember on a whiteboard, he was making me write the triaryl phosphate ester breakdown mechanisms and the chain reactions of adding water, heat. And then I had to go and present it myself. And I remember it's that first moment I thought, okay, this is just you and you're on your own. And I haven't got that network to support me at this stage. They've done their work now, kind of. And now it's time for me to kind of move and towards that. And I remember presenting it, and we ended up getting some huge projects and doing some amazing work in that area. And I thought, wow, okay, now I can do that. And it's kind of that moment I thought, okay, instead of phoning and asking other people to do that for me, then I kind of just need to, as much as it's scary, grab the opportunities and do them myself. So,
yeah, I mean, there were two very big moments there, really. I mean, I think you described them well. The practicality side of things from Steph, I think that's a real attribute, isn't it? To not overcomplicate things and really make things, clear and achievable and motivational and all of those things. So I see that in you, by the way. And then Dr. John, I'm only going to call him that because you did, but he almost pushed you to go, didn't he? He said, okay, I'll show you, but you go and do it. And that's another big lesson in early moments where you're finding your way, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to, as well, the best mentors were people that pushed me into doing it a little bit. Sometimes you need to feel a little bit outside your comfort zone. I know everyone says it, and it's cliche, right? But you do need to step into that one day. What if they retire one day? No one's ever always going to be, or they change their jobs, or these people that you have as your network. You need to make sure that you have to do something yourself, and also you owe it to them. They've taught you everything. They've taken the time. They've guided you through this. At some point, you need to pay them back, and they're also friends of mine. It's one of those things, and it's kind of how I learned to manage, is from Steph, from being friends, from having that feeling as I worked for him, but he was also one of my best mates. He came to my wedding. We're still friends to this day, and it's having that respect for one another that you do through that, and you don't want to let them down. You have to hold your own, and you have to do it for them as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love the message behind that. So if we're moving out of this place where you're now starting to become this trusted expert, you've called yourself, I think earlier on you said you're getting older now. Now let me tell you, for many people you're not. Okay, for those that listen in, he's not, and for those of you that see the videos, you can tell he's not. But fluid power can be, this space can be quite a traditional world. So how did you overcome that? Like as a younger guy, would have been,
yes,
and still are, yeah, right.
Would have been.
Well, just helping you out a bit.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but you're bringing new ideas, right? You're challenging some of the ways of working. How did you bring credibility to get people to take you seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I joke. I clean shave now every day because it's all grey. But before, I try and grow a beard and look a bit older than I actually was. But in all seriousness, that was the case. For years, I was the youngest person at the meeting table or in the canteens when we were discussing problems. And it is hard to build that trust. But as soon as you can show that you're doing the right things, you can visualize the problems you're solving. And I think that's something that we do so much in engineering or technical subjects of any form. We overcomplicate them. We can't communicate it in a way that anybody can understand. And the reason I'm there is because I'm more of an expert than the person on site, because otherwise I wouldn't be there. So I have to make it in a way that everybody can understand what we're trying to do. Every step kind of show the way. To be honest, I can't. Other than that, I can't really tell you. It's quite a difficult. I'd say quite a difficult thing to summarize, because I don't know how you do it. You just go through and roll with it, really. And sometimes people don't trust you, and you just think, I'm going to do it anyway, and see. Sometimes you've got to push it a bit harder and maybe take a few more risks here and there. But I think by visualizing your work and communicating the work you're doing and doing it clearly and simply, then probably the best way, really.
Yeah, I mean, there is sort of probably no right answer to the question, but I think it's a really valid question, because I see it with other sort of gender difference as well, right? How does the female get taken seriously in a room of engineers? And we've spoken to other guests who have spoken about, well, my expertise was so much higher. It came down to being clear and being authentic and following through and delivering on what I said I was going to do. If we take it back to some of our football stories that we've had already, you're starting to see younger and younger coaches come into football, aren't you? You're starting to see, I think, the Manchester United manager has only been a manager for 6 years, and I think I don't know how old he is, 40 something, I'd imagine. So you're not surrounded by 65-year-old folk anymore, right? So the workplace is younger, I guess, is what's maybe driving a bit of that as well.
Yeah, and actually, there's a few things. I go to the industry board association sometimes, and it was one thing that kind of stood out to me, and I went to one a couple of years ago now, and it was about how do we modernize and how do we move. And I remember everybody was the same age. And they're kind of retired, which is nothing wrong with any of this, like retired, experienced people. I'm like, that's great. But how are we? We're all the same person in this room. Like, if we look at a problem space that we're trying to solve, we're all in this top left-hand corner, and we're trying to solve a space that none of us have experience for. So how do we diversify and cover that problem space in a way that we do it better? And it's something that we actually did in our team, half by design and half by accident. And when we first started, just simply having different countries involved in the same group gives a different perspective, a different manner, even like how they give feedback, how they solve a problem. And those are hugely important things which we need to remember to put into the mix. And then when we first started, we had Margot, who you've met, Steve, who is in her sort of mid to late 20s and has a background in international business affairs, and she did her master's with us with BIG, our group, and she was so great. And this different perspective she could, or the different opinions she could put on the table, or a different perspective, was the most refreshing thing, and it was so powerful. And she could really help us through those early days of what we were doing. And it was fantastic. And I think, and that's kind of where I see those kind of, as the industry with these younger people. You've just got to give it a chance and to try it. And kind of a philosophy that I stick with now. And in our team, I'm the oldest person in our team. That's why I joke that I'm the old guy now, because they all tell me I'm a dinosaur because I can't work something instantly, and we're in a software world and cloud computing, and I'm the old-fashioned mechanical engineer. But that's it's all smoke and mirrors to me, this software stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, what I observe and reflect back on is, through your leadership, that advocacy of difference is one that you embrace. And what I think we'll come on to onto your leadership in a moment or two. But so let's hold that bit. But just before we get there, I just want to jump back a step. You lead HIDAC, you call it BIG, Business Innovation Group. And I guess the concept there is no idea is a bad idea at the beginning, right? It's innovation, it's big ideas. Let's consider the art of the possible. But what was the shift like doing the engineering to leading the team? I mean, was that natural to you? I mean, did you have to learn things or unlearn things? Or, I mean, was it like a duck to water?
Not really. I mean, I read a lot. Like I love to read about things because I did my apprenticeship. I've always got this like imposter syndrome. I'm always around the table with these very highly qualified people with loads of experience, and that's part of being always the youngest one there. Always feeling like, oh, I've always got to be better. But I realized you can read like management books, you can go on courses, you can do all of this training, and I realized it's just not my style and it's not me. And I think when you hide, people quite often come into the workplace in any business and you walk through the front door and common sense stays there. And we hide them behind policy and everything else. And I also like realize that I've just got to be sort of my own person. Like I've made those mistakes. I've tried to be, the boss or the leader in a way that everybody else wants me to be like. It came from as well from when I lost my dad when I was younger, when I was an 8-year-old, and I remember the way I come to terms with that was I was always trying to live up to him because he's always considered the life and soul of a party. And whenever I'd go around the local town or playing football because he was an excellent footballer, it's, oh, you're just like your dad. And I had that thing of I must just be like this person or just be like that or just like the things I read in the books. And I kind of was uncomfortable with that, didn't enjoy it, and it was a bit, it just wasn't me. And as soon as I got my head around the fact I can just be me, and being me as a manager or as a leader, and the way I do things is actually quite good, and that's fine. And I'm not, it's probably not that great for everybody, but it's got us to where we are. We have a team that's very happy. We can build an environment where people can flourish, where we encourage people to be the best selves. I support everybody. I try and create an environment which is a happy one. And I want people to come to work and feel like it's a space where, if you're having a bad day and you're driving to work in the morning, I want to get to work and feel, actually, it's not that bad. I've got a nice team here. I can enjoy myself and also do really well at my job and have good opportunities. So, and that's kind of what I learned, is that I just need to be myself more. And a lot of these books teach, I think I tell everyone about this. Like if people are having a bad day and it's a glass door, everyone criticizes you because you're not performing very well in work. And because you walk through that glass door with a company name above it, that's the way it is. It's, come on, we need to be better. We need to do this. And if it's a wooden door of a nice old pub and someone walked through that door and wasn't feeling great, you'd put your arm around them and be like, come on, mate, what's up? Is everything good? How can we support each other here? And I think that's the way we should try and manage. And that's the way we do, actually. Casper and I and the team were very much like that and encourage that and look after people. And then leadership kind of just comes naturally then. It's not a burden, or it's not a thing you even think about. You can just be yourself. So
I think within that, and thank you for sharing that and sharing where that real deep personal piece comes from around that sad experience of your dad when you were 8. But that sort of learning that I don't have to be what other people expect me to be, because that takes courage. I mean, I remember also sitting in rooms where I was employed for a long time by Shell, thinking we are all the same. We are all saying the same things. We are all behaving the same way. Nobody's got the courage to do anything different. We're all in the same process cycle, so everything is just harmonious, and almost like they bring you in as an individual. They shape you as the same, and then they say, well, you're not different anymore. So it's all kind of bizarre. So I think the lesson that you share about you found that being you was the best version of you being a leader is very significant. It's hugely self-aware. And I imagine, therefore, that the people that you are leading almost copy your style, that they are themselves. So in your group, you've just got amazing energy and amazing difference and amazing opinion. I've experienced it briefly when you kindly invited us over to meet your team. There was a lot of different opinions and different perspectives coming to the pot, right?
Yeah. That is, and as I said, that's the healthiest. If that's the one piece of advice I'll give anybody, is that diversity in that thinking. And it doesn't necessarily what type of diversity we're talking about, male, female, backgrounds, countries, race, whatever it might be. It's like the neurodiversity. It's Caroline, who runs our software, having a background in anthropology, and now she's running our software, but does it with she's incredible. And having that mixture of people in that team is something we don't and we shouldn't compromise. We've got so many mechanical engineers, so many electrical engineers, people who in electronics. We've got so many of that in our company. So how do we balance that now? How do we get a more creative way of thinking? And people like Anna, who works with us, she facilitates workshops to get, and you've experienced it, to get the most out of people and put them in an environment which is fun, and they can be creative and they can get outside of that box. What you were talking about, we don't want everybody the same. That would just be a complete disaster for us. We want to encourage them. I remember sat with the owners of our company when we first started this project, and Margot had an idea. She plays it down a lot, by the way, which is building an ambassador network internally for Hydac. She called it a coffee club at one point. I was like, it's more than a coffee club. You've got 200 people in it. And she said at one point to the owners, if we don't do this, we will fail. Very straight up, very direct. And he's like, okay, let's do this then. And I was like, that's Margot, who's like just out of doing her master's with us. And I don't want that to change. I want that to be the same, and for her to keep doing those things and not to feel like she's just like us, So
yeah. I love it. I love the examples you give of and the pride you show in the people. I can see it, I can hear it, but when you mention the names of your colleagues, there is a genuine pride in the fact that we've achieved things, we show up differently, we do things differently, but ultimately, we're a team. And that's a great feeling that you convey in your messaging. So I think that really underlines your leadership. And I guess your leadership is something that now is your everyday, right? You are a leader of the group. You are, whether that's an uncomfortable leader or a happy leader, or, I think it's there. But how do you see things progressing? What do you see coming down this sort of innovation space? What do you see coming through in terms of the workforce? What's going on in your future view of where we're at and where we're going?
I think it comes down to people, really, knowledge. You see every time you ask a question in our industry, what's your biggest issue? As for any of our customers, really, it's people. And we don't have the same amount of people, maintenance people, engineers, people solving these problems. So, and that's a space which we really need to solve. And it comes back to what Margot was doing, as I mentioned, about building these ambassador networks and making sure we have people globally to still solve these problems, to make things more efficient, to have the impact on sustainability and all the other things that we talk about. I think that's our biggest challenge. And we can throw like IoT equipment, we can put technology into places, we can talk about technology all day, but unless that technology's adopted and shows value, then they won't take it. It won't get out into the market. It won't be used. And I think you have to be comfortable to take on those risks. So, and if you don't know about it, you know what we're like as engineers, you won't take that risk if you don't know enough, or you can't justify a decision in something. So it's very much like hydraulic reservoir design. For years it's been 3 to 5 times maximum pump flow gives you this volume of oil that you need in your reservoir. But now you have multi-phase simulation tools which can reduce that by 5 times, so, or more even. But you need to use it, and you need to know that it's there and educate people and put this into our industry. So I think that's one of the key things, is making sure we've got the right people. We inspire people to come into our industry. We make sure that technology can be used with purpose and people know the impact that it makes. So, and that kind of builds this whole, and this is what actually our group is working on right now. We're building fluid engineers that know about the industry. They can go around sites, they can take observations, they can take all the history and everything local to that plant, and then they can use software, which we have we call it a fluid care portal, where we basically a fluid asset management tool. They can build everything into there, and then they can use that with things like fluid analysis, circuit diagrams, history of the system from both the lubricant and the system itself, and the knowledge to give better outcomes. And once you've got an outcome, so it could be I've extended fluid lifetime, or it could be I've reduced energy consumption, isn't just to walk away and, okay, my job here is done as an engineer. It's to measure and understand the impact. So when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about taxonomy and these things, but it's also what impact does it have with our products that are in use and the systems that are in use, and having not just the cost savings, but also CO2 alongside, and start to visualize what's being done. And I think that's where the future is. But again, with one of those points missing, the people, the software, the calculations for CO2, any one of those disappears, then it falls flat. So the importance is that whole kind of value chain, I guess.
I mean, thanks for drawing that picture. And sat here listening, very motivating to hear that sort of end-to-end view is clearly driving your work. We've done some research into buying behavior, and one of the things that really comes out is buyers really want people that deeply understand the sector and segment, but actually have a view that is longer term than shorter term. So I mean, again, we might go, well, that's pretty obvious, but actually, when we're driven in businesses, it is all about hitting targets, selling now, achieving results. We could again be at a juxtaposition that is fighting against what's good versus what's good and what's right versus what actually just gets us a tick in the box or a fiscal result or something. So I really enjoy how you articulate that whole future innovation space. It isn't the fact that we can't create something new. We've just got to join up what we do better and deliver the results from what we have.
Yeah, I think much more around partnerships as well, because you think those things can't be achieved unless you're in partnerships. So you need a certain amount of trust. You need to have these bigger kind of people that have this huge impact to be made. You need to have the freedom to make it within their businesses. You need to trust them to tell you some of their business objectives, and you need to be open as well. So to do the real change in our industry, this openness, and you have 3 or 4 companies working together, whereas before it wasn't like that. This openness and partnership is something that will define us a little bit more in the future, or a lot more in my opinion.
Love it. Well, Tobias, we're going to come to the end. Thank you for taking us through your apprenticeship days. Actually, before that, we learned a little bit about the family background, the racehorsing, the football, loads going on there. And the fact that you're a football coach this weekend, cheering on the team, through your days of leading innovation and Hydac, and really a picture for the future. But if we was to just look back to the next 20-year-old that is down in the tube station at midnight, and there's a Jam reference for you, pulling out the hair, what's your message to them?
Just to love it while you're out on site as much as possible, because those are the best days. And get a Berlingo van, one with better soundproofing.
That can go above 50 miles an hour.
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm sure our audience has absolutely enjoyed this conversation on Beyond the Blend. It's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to spend some more time with you today. Where can people learn more about your work, Toby, if they wanted to find out, connect with you, whatever?
Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always open to have a chat or a catch up. Doesn't matter what industry you're from. If you're interested to learn something, I'll learn something from you. Then that's probably the best way. If that's easiest.
Nice one, Toby. Thanks ever so much again. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on Beyond the Blend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The world's leading lubricants-focused trade event comes to the Middle East this January. Lubricant Expo Middle East will take place from the 20th to 22nd of January at Festival Arena, Dubai Festival City in the UAE. With over 120 exhibitors covering the entire lubricant value chain and 1,500 visitors, including industry leaders, OEMs and end users. It's an unmissable opportunity to meet and do business in this exciting region. Register now to attend for free. Head to lubricantexpo.com/me for more information.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Blend. Be sure to follow us to catch next and future episodes as we continue to explore the people within the lubricant market.